How's it going, guys? So I'll try and keep this intro short today because we got a lot of work to do and I really don't have a lot of time to do it. So today we're going to be doing a little bit of explorative surgery. Exploratory, sorry. I know words. I don't know how to use them. But explorative or exploratory surgery. So I've been chasing oil leaks on the truck. If you're familiar with this at all and you've watched some of the channel, you've seen that we've been doing this. There was an oil pan gasket video, and they've done intake gasket stuff on it, and recently I revisited all of it, and we're still having oil leaks. And oddly enough, the leaks that are coming out of this truck are seemingly speed related. If you drive it around at low speed, you don't really have a problem. If you drive it at high speed on the highway, you start getting more leaks, which leads me to believe pressurized oil or crankcase pressure problems. Causes for this usually excessive blow-by if the cylinders, like the piston rings, are all worn out and you're blowing all your compression out, and that's into the crankcase. That's forcing oil out all the seals. But we don't have that. We only have it coming from somewhere at the back of the engine. Now I've confirmed now that there's no more oil coming out of the top of the intake manifold at the back. There's no oil coming out of the oil pressure sending unit on this truck. There's no oil coming. The only place it's appearing at is from inside the bell housing. Now it leaves a couple suspects. That leaves rear main seal, and it leaves oil galleries, and it leaves camshaft plug. So we're gonna see what it actually is. Now I recently took a bore scope and stuck it up inside there into the bell housing. Took the starter off, went up in there and looked, and you'll see, I'll put them up here, you'll see that on the pictures that there's actually oil on the camshaft plug. And that's important. And the reason that's important is because where that is above the rear main seal by quite a large margin. If we had a leak at the rear main, at the very least, it's not going to climb. That's something that oil just doesn't do. Oil will seep into small gaps and oil will leak down and out, take the path of less resistance. It's not going to climb up the block into that camshaft plug. Now, that cam plug is hammered into the back at the time of engine assembly when you put the camshaft in, actually a little before. I know that this engine was rebuilt in 2010. I pulled it out of the junkyard and I found a tag on the back that it had been rebuilt. So I know it's been gone through and I know it's actually pretty healthy. It doesn't have a lot of blow-by issues. It runs healthy. It's actually remarkably in good shape, and I pulled a set of plugs out of it at 15,000 miles. They look new. So it would be a real shame if we had to junk this engine because there's a clearance issue where there's an oil leak that's not repairable. And I don't think that's the case. I think that camshaft plug is leaking, and I think it also makes sense for RPM, because if the engine is spinning at a low RPM, 1500, maybe 2000, just loping around town, there's not as much pressure around that camshaft, that oil pressure. But when it's up around 3000 RPM on the highway, that oil pressure builds, and it's a little more, and it's more likely to start seeping out the back of that camshaft plug. And I've done some consulting with some people that have done a lot more Mopar stuff than me, and when I sent them pictures of it, they told me that when they install them, when they rebuild these engines, they cover them in silicone, or they make sure they're sealed. There's no silicone of any kind on it. There was no special attempt made to keep it from leaking. And based on the photos, we kind of agree we at least need to get in there and get a look at it. Now, unfortunately, that involves removal of the transmission from the truck. So that's what we got to get to today. So I'm going to crawl under here. I've got a weird adapter I've put together for my jack to hopefully get it out of there. But we need to drop the drive shaft out of it. We need to pull the exhaust off of it, and we need to start pulling the bell housing and torque converter bolts and just pull the transmission back, down, and out. And that'll give us access to the back of the engine. Once we have access to the back, we can clean it all up. More importantly, we can look at it very closely beforehand, see if we can find anything that is evident that is more obvious than it was with the bore scope pictures. Cover it in silicone, clean it up, cover it in silicone, put it back in service, and hopefully we've fixed our leak. So, without all being said, let me go ahead and get under here. We'll start pulling stuff apart. Let's get to work.
Alright, I should loosen that up enough to come apart. I can't remember. That's a different piece of pipe. I think I've got it like stepped there, I think. These. Apparently they're larger than that. Side. Let's see. It's the same size. What's up? Sizes. Should we just get aggressive with it? Way to go, Dodge. Let's put a sheet metal clip that's effectively a razor blade so that when the bolt spins, you can't grab it, but you can't hold it either. It is awesome. How did I get these on and off last time? Oh. Where is he? Where am I trying to be right now? Come off. not a 5/8. Is it a different size for some reason? It is. Why is it? Okay. Under here now. This is what is even spinning? Because that's okay. That's that. Let me try this one more time. Okay, God, it's finally. I think it's off. Okay, that only took way longer than it should have. Okay, let's see if we can get the other side. Alright, there's really no way I can get you in here to see. But I got 2 more bolts on this exhaust. Just downward facing ones. I don't remember them being this much trouble in the past, but God, they're fighting today. Alright. Okay, it started. Just pull down on it, maybe, and give enough resistance. I don't know. Okay, nope. We're gonna need to do the same thing on this side. Alright, there's some kind of nonsense little clips up here. They're basically like little razor blades. Been the story with today. Little jobs that really shouldn't take as long as they have today have taken far longer than they should have. Let's see this. Okay, that one matched with the manhandle off. Alright, let's see if we can do the same with the other one. Okay. Let's see if we can get dirt in my eyes. See if we can get this thing. Okay, so it's gonna pinch at the front. So we're gonna go to the back. Alright, so looks like I need to take it down at the back. Alright, let me see if we can take it apart back in the glass pack. Okay. How's this beer can still holding together? Pull that out. That is clearly not doing anything useful anymore. Okay. Let me see if I can. Well, that wrench is big enough. Actually, pretty big fucking pipe. Rather just take it out in like one piece, fewer pieces, but it's gonna fight all the way down. Not really have much of a choice. Oh, come on. Okay, that should be good enough. We can find it apart now. Just beat it. Holding on there. Gee. Took long enough.
Alright guys, so today's day 2. I'm working a little slow on this one. It's just kind of been what it's been. But so yesterday I managed to get the transmission mostly disconnected. So we've got the transcore lines off it. We've got the shifter attachment for the column shift off of it. We've got the torque converter disconnected. We're basically down now. We just need cross member and we need bell housing bolts. It all sounds very simple, and it really is. It's just getting closer and closer to it. It's going to be heavy. I got the door shut today because it's a little bit colder. So if it's a little dark again, this video, I kind of apologize, just doing what I can. But with that being said, let's crawl underneath. I need to clean up the mess made by yesterday. I've got a little bit of kitty litter for that. And we can get started on it. Hopefully we can get it out today, find the leak, and get it fixed. I don't know if we'll get it assembled today, but we'll do our best. So let's get under here and let's get to work. Alright guys, so let me show you where we're kind of at. So it's kind of a mess under here right now. Like I said, I need to clean up all the transmission fluid.
But we're at the point now where I think we can start pulling this, which is the cross member, and figure out getting that guy all the way out. And at the point that that's there, we're going to need the jack actually supporting all of this. Then it's just the bolts that bolt that bell housing to the engine, and we can pull the whole thing down and out with the floor jack. I hate working this low on the ground because there's not a lot of room to get underneath the truck for myself, but I also don't want to have to be balancing that transmission on the floor jack way high in the air, even if I lifted the truck up a little higher. That thing weighs, from what I understand, about 150 pounds, which is not insane, but I'm not going to be able to lift that thing back up in there on my own either. So I do need to make sure it's at a level that I can control it. So that being said, let me get under here, we'll get it cleaned up, and we'll start pulling bolts. Okay guys, update. So I went ahead and decided to pick it up, and we have the door open now. The reasons for this are I started messing with it more and more, and it's just way too dark in here and with the door shut. And as much as I don't like the transmission having to go that high with it, at the same time I need room to maneuver, and there's just not a lot of room if I don't. So it's my neighbor Chris. So I need to pull. We're going to start, let me see, let me get back here so you can see. This cross member right here is what needs to come out. Now, luckily-ish, doesn't look too difficult. Basically, we got these 4 bolts here. We got one there, probably one on the back side of it. Transmission's mounted there. We'll unbolt that. And then just this bracketry right here. Then this whole thing should come off. Once that's done, we're left only with like these guys. Effectively the starter, bell housing bolts, the whole thing should come off. So, all that being said, let's get started on it. Are you kidding me? Those aren't six. What size are those? Worked on these. Fucking 3 different types of bolts. Let's see, what size are these? 3/4. Right now I'm removing the through bolt for the transmission mount. Once this guy's out, the transmission is physically separated from the cross member we're trying to remove. And then we can work on getting the last set of fasteners out of the cross member so I can get it out. It is, this whole job, I really thought I'd be much farther along. It has been, I wouldn't say difficult might be the wrong word, but it has been taking longer than I thought it would, for sure. What I find is crazy, honestly, looking at this, is that it's like Dodge supported or built the midsection of this truck with this cross member. It's supported, I mean, it's mounted in like 10 places. It's like they were like, okay, well, the middle we need to make really strong and rigid, but the front we can let it just be twisty and stuff and just like try and rip itself apart. There's almost nothing that holds it together up front in comparison. But what do I know? Alright, let me see. Can I just tap that through? I use a garbage wrench when I have real hammers around. But it may not need much for that. Snap on. Always use the right tool. Yes, the guy who works in his garage. I mean, whatever's at hand, really. Okay. So that is actually, oddly enough, we probably need to come down a little bit for me to fish that out. That's the annoying part. There we go. Oh, you're kidding. That's dirty. We're gonna make the bolt too long to slide out. Come on. How many places did you bolt that mount down? Looks like it's at like 4 points. What is that? I just want it out. I'm not trying to. Fluid everywhere. Okay. Washers coming out. Safety squints. Okay. Okay. I would say now the transmission is disconnected from that cross member, which is good. That's what we want. So now it's going to take out the bolts out of the cross member. It's going to be its own little circus, and we can cool. More cross member nuts. Okay. This one. All these cross nuts together. Now we just gotta figure out getting it's loose-ish. Concussive maintenance. Let's see if we can. We're loose. It's not supporting it. Back here. Pry it out. This might do it. Woo! Alright, that almost hurt. Alright. Okay. I think I have a spare transmission mount too anyway. Put that in there. Alright. Cool. Well, the transmission is now no longer secured at the back. So, there's our wire harness. I can hang up there for now. Now all we need to do is pull the bell housing bolts at the front, and it should all come out. Kind of annoying, I'm looking at, I gotta remove the oil filter to get one of them out though. That sucks. Alright. Okay. Four-wheeling through the kitty litter here. That's fun. Alright. So, next thing's next. We need to pull this starter off so we can get access. Or rather, so the flywheel. I think it's just generally in the way. I forget exactly. But it's got to come off. I'm pretty certain. So, let me start pulling it off. Luckily, I believe it is just 2/5/8. And I've already disconnected the battery. I've got the engine supported with a wooden post on a brick. So hopefully it shouldn't try to fall any lower on us. And I think I could just wedge this up in the frame so I don't have to disconnect it from the wiring. We'll see in a second. But we're getting close. Getting close. Out, yep. Starter bolt here. Pull the top one. We'll just spin this one now. Yes, it's just a nut. Question is it going to take the whole stud with it this time? Kinda no. Cool. Out, starter slides off, and like I said, I want to say just wedge it up there. Okay, or not. That's fun too. Let's fight with it some. I have to disconnect. Anyone else but me ever hate having to take starters loose because they're random sized fasteners every time and they're like tiny and you never have the right sized wrench sitting around? Right now I'm just gonna let that hang a little bit, get to it a little bit. Alright, oh, that's why, because you have to get to that. So, okay, let me get that. I think those will actually be the last. Well, no. The last ones we're going to want to get are going to be on the other side. So, let me see if I can start pulling that out. Might end up though, god dang. I mean, I guess it'll look ugly, but as long as it doesn't start, as long as I don't punch a hole in it, it can still be used. Cool. And since it hadn't been running, it's full of oil, but nothing really drains out, which is nice. Alright. So I believe this is a 5/8, and then this is that, I think, 9/16. So let me get that done. I tightened that one down good, I guess, when I was in here last. All right. Yep. Okay. We hanging on by anything? Nope. In fact. Okay. Cool. We're balanced on the jack. Let's see if we can kind of go backwards and lower it down. That is a Chrysler 904. If you've never seen one, that's what it looks like. Okay. Now let's see if we can get to what we actually came here for. Okay. So this is what I suspect is the culprit. I don't know for sure, because there's really no way to be sure, but this is the plug, and on the other side of that plug is the camshaft. Now, as the engine spins, the camshaft spins, obviously, and oil moves around behind that thing. Now, if it's got any kind of a seepage around its edges because it's not perfectly centered and flat, or there was any damage done when it was first removed, and somebody reinstalled it and they didn't put sealant on it, which doesn't look like they did, it very well could be leaking. We also have, while we're in here, we can also look at these, which are the oil gallery plugs, and they can leak as well. So we'll probably pull those out and reseal them as well. But looking at this, I'm kind of liking what I'm seeing, because when I look up here, I know it doesn't really look it, but right above where the transmission was actually mated, it's dry, and all the oil's inside, which implies it didn't leak from above. And my suspicion is that that's been leaking down onto the crankshaft and being flailed around in here. Because if we had a rear main leak, it should just be coming out the bottom there. It really shouldn't be climbing and flailing around in here. So let me get this cleaned up, and we'll put some silicone and start sealing things. I'll show you what we got after we get that done. Okay guys, this is what I came up with. So that is now pretty thoroughly siliconed all over that back cam plug, and I even put some on the oil galleries just to be kind of extra safe. It's kind of hack type work to do that, really, but at the same time, I'm the guy laying under the truck with no one here to stop me, so that's what we're gonna do. But I think we're pretty much ready to go start going back together. I don't think I'll do a lot of commentary on that, because honestly I'm pretty over this at this point. We're just gonna start slamming it back together, so let's put this thing back together and get it back on the road. Alright guys, transmission is in. So we got a few more things we just need to button up. So first, we're going to need to put the crossmember in, but we need to remember by the time when we start getting this all together, these guys are going to need to go in too. These are the torque converter bolts. These are what actually connect the whole drive line from the engine to the torque converter and then through the transmission. It's kind of crazy to believe that that little bolt, granted 4 of them, are what actually drive all the power to the back wheels. All of that is what
makes it move. It's kind of crazy. But piece of maintenance needs to be done. So this is the rear transmission mount, which is pretty saturated with oil. And I actually bought a replacement mount probably a couple years ago with the intention of replacing it because I could tell that it was torn up. It had that crack in it. And I basically took a look at it and said, hang on, I'm going to have to remove this whole giant piece of metal to do it. Yeah, that can go back on the shelf. I'm not doing that. Well, we now have it out. So let me go in the garage or out in the shed, go pull that. Pretty sure it's still sitting in the box out there. Hopefully it's the right one. And if it is, we'll get it swapped. I'll clean all this up a little bit. It's not going to be sanitary, but clean it up a little. And we can start putting the crossmember back in and getting this thing just a little bit closer to being back on the road. Okay. So I went back in my store of parts, and there's the mount. Or at least what appears to be it. So it certainly looks like the same part, just cleaner and not worn out. It is a Anchor 2624. So let me go ahead and zip those off, or that last one off, and we'll get it switched out and get it cleaned up. Alright. Okay. This is incredibly cramped in here with the truck. Gosh. Yeah. Get all that schmoo. Grab something to clean it up. Use paper towels. And this isn't actually engine oil or anything like that. This is mostly transmission fluid on this, I think. From years of tail seal leaking and stuff like that. It still leaks, it's not real severe. And I've replaced that seal, so it's a lot better. If anything, it doesn't leak anymore. Now it is oil. Scrapes this out. And I'll never see this, or I'll know all this is down here. So. I'm just gonna squint and say that's clean. So, okay. This guy. Probably just set it in there by now. It's gonna be. This doobly like that. And that whole thing goes back up in there. Fun. Alright, let's get to it. Alright guys, well today's day 4. It's going to be the last push on this, I think. We're almost done. We finished up last night. It was getting kind of dark. I had to go do other things. All we need to do now is we're down to tighten up the last few bolts that mount the transmission to the cross member, put the starter on it, put the torque converter bolts in it, put the drive shaft in, and bolt the exhaust up. Other than that, we should be good to go. I've got enough transmission fluid sitting around. We can top off what we leaked, I think. So we should be done. So with that all being said, let's get started. Let's get in here and get this thing finished up. Alright guys, so it's back together. Today's the next day. It's time for a test drive. I've looked around underneath, got everything hooked up. Let's go see what we can do, see if we still have leaks under this truck.
that was unscheduled. It's a tire failure. It's the second one I've had blow the exact same way in like the last month or so. Well, guess I got another issue. Meantime, let me look under here and see if do we have oil leaks too to add to injury? Add insult to injury? Oh, cool, it's in an amp bed, that's fun. I don't see any yet. So, I don't know, there's some on the transmission plant. Alright, well, we'll figure this out now. I'm back with a new tire. I think we figured out what was going wrong with them. It's now been replaced on this one. This valve stem cap actually, or the valve stem was rubber and it actually rotted. Had rotted a hole and leaked all the air out. And that's what caused the failure. But we're back together now. Let's get this put on and get back to test driving. Go up just a little higher on the jack. There we go. I took a peek at it after our short drive. I don't think we're completely fixed. I think we do still have some oil leaks. Now the thing is, we're at a stage now where it's almost certainly going to be not something that we can actually fix. I think it's a rear main leak issue that this rear main's already been replaced, so there's nothing more you can do there. I can try putting some stop leak in it, but may just have to kind of live with it, unfortunately. But get this back together. Got some errands to run. We'll do a little test driving. Hey guys, if you made it this far in the video, I appreciate you watching. I wanted to put together a quick outro for this one because this one kind of is a little bit of a mess. I had to do a lot of editing. There's a ton of footage that I edited out because it really, honestly, the sheer amount of time that I spent fiddling with stuff on this one that just really isn't that interesting to watch, just is what it is. But the reason I wanted to put together something like this is because that is really kind of the reality of doing any of this classic car, hot rodding, old stuff. This is what you have to do. Regarding whether or not a repair actually fixed anything, I think what we found is that it didn't. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I had found something that I thought was potentially a leak. And unfortunately, the only way to be sure and be where we're at now was to go in and actually try and do something about it. It's the only way. Now, probably 12, 14 hours worth of work in the hole, we're not fixed. We still have a leak. This still leaves a couple possibilities for that vehicle. Really, the only likely one, though, is that the rear main seal is leaking. I know I said just a second ago in the video that this could be a clearance issue that might not be repairable. I've done a little more research since then. I'm not going to bore you with our video on it. I'll go in and mess with it, but it could be an issue with either it is possible to install the rear main seal
in the wrong orientation, and I need to go in and check that. That's going to take me a bunch of time. I'll do it. I don't think that's the case. I think I was pretty careful last time I did it. There's also the possibility that given the style of crankshaft that's in it, I might need to mess with what's called a rope seal, which is the original style of rear main seal, which is effectively a rope covered in a rubber, and it's much thicker. And basically the difference is that the type of sealing surface that's on that crankshaft around the back side of it, modern ones and most of them are smooth, which is where the seal that's in there would work well. But if I recall, it's knurled, which is meant for a rope seal. And there's a possibility that it might need a rope seal to go back. Unfortunately, they're very hard to find. I'll have to do some hunting around, learning, whatever. But like I said, I wanted to do this video just to show that, you know, hey, there's a lot of times you do this stuff, you may not get the result you want. It may not be fixed. You might spend hours and hours just to learn that that's not the problem. But that's something that's worth keeping in mind. If you learn that something's not the problem, you now know it's not the issue. You can check it off and you can keep going. That's just the way these old cars work. So that all being said, I know it's another Dodge video. I know they don't do quite as well on here, but again, it's pretty much anything I do, I put up. But this guy. So I know I keep saying and saying and saying that I'm going to do it. It's happening. Next video that goes up will be this engine, and it'll be the assembly. Everything is here. I have all the parts. We're ready. This is the engine that's going to go in the white Fiero. It is a stock block, not sure on the year, 2.8 liter Chevy Pontiac L44, which is the Pontiac version of the Chevy 2.8. It's going to be a pretty mild build. It's just got a set of heads in it with the upgraded valve springs from Comp, and it's going to get a used Comp cam. We're going to cross our fingers, and hopefully everything works out on it, because it's really kind of a budget build. But that's what's going to be going together in the next video. So I hope you join me for that one. I hope this wasn't too boring. I hope you enjoyed watching it. If you want to see more of this stuff, like, subscribe to the channel, things like that. I'll keep it coming. Basically, as long as I've got time to keep editing whatever I do, I'll keep putting stuff up. So that being said, hope you enjoyed watching this video. Thank you for watching.